Winter turned a medieval castle from a hard home into a freezing survival machine. Stone walls stored cold like giant blocks of ice and released it all night long. Most castle windows were narrow openings with shutters, not cozy glass panes. Wind whistled through cracks in shutters, under doors, and behind every hanging cloth. Huge halls looked impressive in summer, but felt impossible to heat in deep winter. People huddled near the hearth, while the far side of the room stayed bitterly cold. The smoke from indoor fires often made winter comfort feel like slow suffocation. Wet firewood burned badly, filling rooms with more smoke and less warmth. Even noble bedrooms needed bed curtains to trap a pocket of warmer air around the mattress. Without those curtains, the cold could bite through wool blankets before dawn. People wore layers of linen, wool, and fur indoors because walls offered almost no insulation. Gloves, caps, and hose were not fashion luxuries in winter. They were survival gear. Water buckets could develop ice at the surface in rooms with poor fires. Washing became miserable because cold water felt like punishment, not cleanliness. Laundry dried slowly in winter, leaving clothes damp, stiff, and foul-smelling. Damp fabric against the skin increased chills, rashes, and misery. Castle servants worked before sunrise in dark kitchens where the floor felt like ice. Night guards had it worse because they stood still on battlements exposed to wind and sleet. Metal helmets, buckles, and weapons became painfully cold against bare skin. Stiff hands made archery, repairs, and even carrying buckets harder and slower. Food also changed because winter diets leaned harder on salted meat, old grain, and root stores. Fresh greens disappeared, which weakened health after months of the same preserved food. Winter illness spread easily in smoky, crowded rooms where everyone coughed into stale air. Chest infections and fever could start with cold exposure and end in quiet death. Old people and infants were especially vulnerable when fuel ran low. Snow also blocked roads, delaying fresh supplies, letters, and hired labor. That isolation made every shortage feel sharper inside the walls. If pipes or channels froze, hauling water became even more exhausting. Animals inside stables produced warmth, but also more dampness, stench, and disease risk. Rotting straw and trapped moisture made winter bedding feel sour and alive. Even wealthy lords depended on huge stores of wood, coal, wax, and fur to stay comfortable. When those stores dropped, social rank mattered less than the brute physics of cold stone. Winter sieges were especially terrifying because the cold attacked defenders every hour without rest. So the fairy tale image of a grand winter castle hides a brutal fact. For many people, castle winter meant numb hands, smoky lungs, wet clothes, and endless fatigue. The real soundtrack of castle winter was not romance, but coughing, crackling wood, and chattering teeth.